morning, everybody. Here's our beach ceramics tutorial part 2. I'm Dr. Beachcomb, and I'm really glad you're here to join me on this. These are one of my favorite things to find on the beach, and I'll show you why. Here are 3 items that I found over the years that I just love. And the thing that's lovely about beach ceramics is there's always a little bit of mystery. This I found in Fife, Scotland, just sitting there waiting for me. And when I turned it over, look what was there for me, a beautiful flower to brighten my day. This is Scottish spongeware. This is the one that got me really just in love with beach ceramics. I found this shard. It's a transferware, soft paste, probably late Victorian, but when I turned it over, look at that. It was like it opened up a whole new world for me. Suddenly I was in a castle over in Europe somewhere. This little guy, and if anybody has some seaweed shards they don't want, I am more than happy to trade. I love the seaweed shard because when I turned it over, it said sea, and I'm sure it said weed. And then this is the one that started me on my journey of researching the origins of the shards I find. This little fellow I found on a Chesapeake Bay beach. I think he's French. And what was I finding here? A lion from the late mid-1800s sitting here on a beach in the middle of Chesapeake Bay. Now I know that area had merchant ships and warships and colonialists traveling up and down the bay since the late 1600s. So who knows where this came from? But these are the 4 items that really are why I love this genre. So let's get started. I told you about earthenware, stoneware, and the paste porcelains. And we're going to really focus on porcelain today, more than the other genres. And briefly, these are items that I found on the Thames, dating back to the Tudor era, 1700s. These are stoneware, hard-fired, glazed, very durable, have lasted for 3 or 4 centuries. Then we move on to China and Japan. They're the ones the Chinese are the ones who created the hard paste porcelains. Very durable. I don't have any Chinese hard paste here. I think this is Chinese stoneware with the glazing. But they're very durable. They hold up for centuries. They don't degrade. And they don't use a glaze on top, so the glaze doesn't break down. This is made with China stone and kaolin fired at very, very high temperatures, and they will last forever. They might chip and break, but the designs on them, which are just beautiful. I love the designs on the Japan ware, particularly. The Chinese that I found, and I find a lot out here in Hawaii because of the plantations, the plantation communities. I was just saying to my son, I think a lot of the China ware is actually a high glazed earthenware because, a high fired earthenware because they are glazed and the glaze is chipping off and degrading, whereas you don't have that in true hard paste porcelains. But the designs are beautiful, and they're very different actually than what you would find over here with the Japan ware. Very different designs. So then we'll move on to the Europeans desperately trying to create hard paste porcelains because the Chinese sure weren't going to give them their recipes because they were making a lot of money during the China export trade. So they did everything they could, and one of the big things they did was they were missing the ingredient kaolin. They mixed it with animal bones and put a heavy glaze on the top. This is one of the oldest designs that you find from the European ware. So are these. This is featherware or pearlware. This is this with the glaze still on it. And also whiteware. Some of the whiteware is very old from the colonial era in America. And I know many of you find these shards. These were first produced, the featherware and pearlware, in the late 1700s. It also comes in a green, perhaps other shades too. I haven't seen them. So if you found a shard of these, and they're not uncommon on the US East Coast, definitely not uncommon over in the UK. I don't know about Europe itself. You find them in the Maritimes. I've actually found them in Hawaii. You know, you found shards that are anywhere from 225, 30 years old to present day. So let's go. Here's the whiteware too, another piece of colonial whiteware. Then we have over here the Scottish spongeware. And Scotland also used, these are hard, soft paste porcelains, so they do degrade. And what happens is the glaze comes off, but oftentimes the design stays. These are some of the most pleasing pottery shards beachcombers find because of the colors and the designs. And it's a repetitive design that goes around a plate or a bowl. This is a very common pattern. I found a lot of those. So is this. This is one of my favorites. So Scottish spongeware, and you can find this, again, I found this in Hawaii too. Scots traveled all over the world and brought their plates with them, and not uncommon to find. Then another soft paste porcelain, the American and European transferwares. This was their attempt to make the Chinaware. And the beautiful thing about these are the designs. The designs are truly spectacular on a lot of these pieces. And people did covet them. Did I show a piece of transferware over there? I think I did. In the earlier video, you can find it. So you have designs that were put on plates repetitively. You also have a pattern called flow blue. Flow blue is a special way of applying the glaze and the dye. So those are kind of sought after. And if you find these, they started making these 1800s, early 1800s up through the Victorian era. It was a very big period for transferware, and it came in all different colors. I love the browns. I don't find many browns, but they're some of my favorite. And ones with designs and people in them, or a hat, little boy in a boat. Here's a gentleman, well actually, see, that's another magic shard. You see it on one side and then you turn it over and there's a little man talking to you. A lot of beachcombers covet the ones with the designs of the people on them. In the later 1800s and early 1900s, you started to find restaurant ware. Now, some of this restaurant ware is actually hard paste porcelain. See how the design hasn't degraded, the glaze hasn't chipped off? But a lot of it was soft paste porcelains. Then you have a lot of the 20th century California pottery ware. Some of the pottery ware is high-fired stoneware, and some of it is pasteware. And you start to see the difference. So here's a piece of pasteware with a heavy glazing on it that I love. That's starting to degrade. When it degrades, this is a piece of, my guess is this could be earthenware, but it might also be stoneware. See, I'm not the leading expert on this stuff, but it degrades very easily in the sea. So let's go over here for a minute. This is a very popular find for a lot of people. This is blue willow. It's the most prevalent pattern ever made in the world. The Europeans copied it from the Chinese. And you can find willow ware everywhere, on every beach, all over the world. And people collect these, and they love to compare their finds with each other. This little cup, now this is one thing that I found fun. If you find in antique or thrift shops little children's tea sets, or even one little cup, that's a great thing to add to your collection, because then you can look at that design. See, here's a little Japanese teapot. I did the same thing with this. Here's a little Japanese dish. They're wonderful to have with your pottery shards because they're a great way to kind of show where they came from, where these came from. So here's a fun thing to do. A lot of people love to collect the pottery shards that have writing on them. I do too. This is from a child's alphabet bowl. The alphabet went around the rim of the bowl. I got this at one of the beachcombing conferences. Someone donated it and I just loved it. Drink milk. And again, these are from the stoneware. these are from ginger beer bottles and and marmalade jars and things of that sort. So one of the ways to identify what you find are hallmarks. Sometimes if you turn your shards over, particularly if they're bottoms of bowls or plates, you are going to find a hallmark. And if this is ironstone, English ironstone probably, if you get enough of the words, you can trace where these come from, how old they are, the dates. I think finding, so this is another special piece because you turn it over, there's a little man smoking right there. And when I turned him over, it's not made from, it's ironstone, it's made from in the US. But you can start to identify or trace back the maker marks. So you get an idea of the age, the composition, all sorts of things. Over here, well, these are fun finds. I just want to, these are fireplace tiles, mantle tiles. This is a floor tile. You can find some of these items when you're beachcombing. They're not as prevalent. I haven't found very many at all in the US, but they are, you find them over in Scotland and you find them in England. Perhaps you find them in other countries where there have been long settlement histories. So one of the things I want to tell you is when you find the the soft paste porcelains, these guys, the beautiful transferware pieces that we all love, or the Scottish spongeware, one of the telltale things, there's two telltale things actually. The first is if they're old, they do start to break down. And the brown marks in here are called crazing. That's where the glaze cracks and the water and the dirt get in. And you can find some pieces that are full of crazing. I particularly like crazing. Here's crazing too. That's a good example. So that's one of the ways that soft paste porcelains break down. Another way is the glazing completely breaks down, and when that happens, the pattern disappears, and they turn almost to just a bone-like pottery. Here's an example. That's how you know right away that you don't have a hard paste porcelain. This is definitely soft paste. Here's another one. What a beautiful design that was. But look, the glaze barely held on in the design until the paste ware came off. See the Japanese piece? Nothing. Holds fast. See the Chinese piece? It's probably 150, 200 years old. This was found in the Bahamas. Still holds fast. It might have a bit of sea wash on it. They all can get that, and you can just rinse them off. But I hope you have a good time. I hope this has helped you. And please, I'm not an expert again, and do your own research, but at least I hope I've gotten you started, and this would be a great way for you to spend your time right now while you're waiting out COVID-19. Take care. All the best. Happy combing.